on the city.
The Friday call to Muslim prayer in Baghdad followed one of the quietest nights since the Allied bombardments began. There were no airstrikes on the capital during the night, and many Iraqis said they were well rested. Iraqi officials are trying to demonstrate how the Allied strikes have been destroying non-military targets. The Pentagon said this building was making chemical and biological weapons. The Iraqis claim it made baby milk, a claim that is being thoroughly examined by the small group of Western journalists now in Iraq. ITM was allowed to freely scrutinize the ruins at Abu Ghraib and go through official documents. They were issued by the State Organization of Industrial Development and Construction. There was a stack of superficial evidence to support the Iraqi claims that the factory was innocently producing baby milk formula, but also nagging doubts like the necessity to camouflage the installation and locate it in an area of interest well known to the Americans. It was at this point that the relative calm of the day was shattered. The moment focused on the incoming projectiles rocketing past. Suddenly we could clearly see them. Chasing each other, following the same track. As you can see, that's the latest Tomahawk cruise missile to fly just over our position here. Anti-aircraft gunners all around us are trying to shoot them down. So far, 3 have flown over our heads, all heading for their targets, and I think there's some more coming in over here. The cruisers were map-reading themselves along this highway towards their targets. 1, perhaps 2, were almost certainly shot down and fell onto a residential suburb. A soldier was searching for casualties. We climbed through the dust and bricks of an adjacent house to find the occupants.
A rocket fell there behind us and damaged our house, as you see.
Yarmouk Hospital in Baghdad began to receive its first casualties. They were mostly children today, out playing when the missiles were shot down. But why don't more people take cover during the attacks?
We had a long experience in our war with Persia, and every person is not afraid from bombing. And they say to Bush and his other people, they say that we are here, and if you want to take Kuwait, kill us.
Despite their immense losses, Iraqis do not talk about any surrender of Kuwait.
All of you are responsible. All of you. Arming the people for the sake of oil. As if we are Red Indians. We are human beings.
Reporters have been allowed to see the aftermath of fighting in the town. We have 2 reports from the front, first from ITN's Peter Sharp.
At the gates of Khafji, the green half light of the night sight camera revealed hundreds of Saudi National Guard troops and armored vehicles pouring into the beleaguered town early this morning. The wreckage of an Iraqi armored personnel carrier, still smoking, lay at the southern entrance to the town. The enemy had driven straight through Khafji and were still heading south when they were halted. The British military said today 300 Iraqi soldiers were killed. According to the Saudi commander, the 3-pronged attack on Khafji was an act of desperation.
I think it was a suicide mission for them. They cannot gain anything except politically from that mission, but this is the biggest land battle happened. We gained a lot. I think we destroyed most of his forces inside the Kuwaiti theater, which I cannot confirm how many, but I can say with great confidence that you can count vehicles and tanks in hundreds.
For the Saudi troops, their first battle experience came in the retaking of one of their own towns, not liberating Kuwait.
This was the first time that the Saudi forces have moved against an enemy force. This is the first major battle for the Saudi army, and they've acquitted themselves terribly well. So that was probably the most difficult part for these young Saudi soldiers to engage in combat with a hostile force.
We'd been allowed less than an hour in the outskirts of Kafji, and as we were ordered out, Iraqi heavy armor inside Kuwait was once again said to be moving south towards the border. The attack on Kafji and its brief occupation by the Iraqi forces was of little strategic importance, but once again it's demonstrated Saddam Hussein's ability to seize both the political and the propaganda initiative in this war. This afternoon, some of the 500 Iraqi prisoners captured during the fighting at Kafji were being treated before being taken to holding camps behind the lines.
As skirmishes continue in the border area north of Al-Kafji, Allied commanders are looking west to the large-scale troop movements which could herald another and much more significant Iraqi attack. Intelligence experts have been examining a series of aerial photos and verbal reports which suggest that columns of armour and military vehicles are heading for Kuwait's southern border. The troop movements appear to be centred around the oil field at Al-Wafra. Observations from Allied pilots also suggest that reinforcement from the north may be coming from the mobile reserve close to Kuwait City. To reach Al-Wafra, the Iraqi tanks and mechanised infantry may be using either or both of the two main highways. This is armour at its most vulnerable. Whilst dug in at well-protected sites, it can withstand air attack, but on the road, the convoys, reported as several miles long, present an easy target. American A-10 tank busters, supported by Huey ground attack helicopters, are designed specifically for this type of action. Returning pilots have spoken of Iraqi vehicles laid out like a shooting gallery with few air defences.
He would have been better moving at night, moving his tank forces in a more dispersed formation. But as it is at the moment, of course, he's lining them up somewhat like a turkey shoot.
The missions are not without risk. Allied aircraft still face SAM missiles and fire from mobile anti-aircraft guns within the convoys. This afternoon, the Americans admitted the loss of an AC-130, a derivation of the C-130 transport aircraft, which is equipped with weapons to support ground troops.
All 14 crew members are listed as missing. The cause of the crash has not been determined, but the aircraft was over hostile territory on a combat mission when it reported Mayday.
US forces seen here on pre-war exercises are still facing probing attacks along the border between Al-Wafra and Al-Kafji. In London, the Prime Minister, speaking on British Forces Radio, reflected on the possibility of another Iraqi offensive.
It's a rather desperate ploy in some ways for the Iraqis to come out of Kuwait in the way they've done. Clearly, Saddam Hussein is losing this war. I think he knows he's losing it. He started it, and he's losing it. The more he comes out, the more I think he'll run into the sort of difficulties he did at Kafji.
Tonight, Allied commanders are stressing again that whatever Saddam Hussein may throw against them, they won't be drawn into an early ground war.